Hello everybody, welcome to That's Football. Two huge calls in the Premier League at the moment. First of all, Mo Salah being dropped by Arne Slot. He's been speaking about that. Should it be a long-term thing for Salah or should he be straight back in the team against Sunderland? Also, Thomas Frank calling out the Spurs fans for booing his players. Could that be the beginning of the end? Well, we'll get into it because I think that, first of all, around Mo Salah, I think he's a fantastic player. Whether he can be a fantastic player again or not, this is a big call by Arne Slot to drop him against West Ham, a justified call. And with Real Madrid precariously situation with Alonso, there is a ready-made replacement for Slot there if he doesn't start to make things happen right now. Now, when you look at that West Ham performance at the weekend, it's a win. It's an important win for Liverpool. But did they look better as a side without Salah in it? And I think to go away from home, not concede defensively with Gakpo and Wirtz as the wide players, I think there was more structure. I think there was more synergy. I think they were better as a team organisationally than when you've got Salah in the team where, let's be honest, if he's not scoring and he's not getting the assists, he's certainly not giving you the defensive work. So the question is whether that's a stopgap and Salah goes straight back in the team for the Sunderland game or whether it's a little bit more long-term. Because I think when you look, the question is, to you, what do? Do you bring Salah straight back in or do you leave him on the bench? Because I mentioned it a few weeks ago. I think with Salah, you don't want to disrespect him too much because he's been, he's a Liverpool legend. But this is what Slot said. He's disciplined. He knows what he's got to do to stay fit. He's a professional player. It's a fair assumption to say that he wasn't happy. That's a normal reaction. And to say it mildly, he's been an outstanding player for the club. And we know that he will stay professional. But the reality is, do you bring him back in or do you leave him out? The AFCON is coming up and Liverpool play Arsenal. I think it's like January the 8th at Arsenal. Now, unless Egypt crash out in the group stage, they're going to be in the knockout stage and Salah's going to miss that game. So there's sort of this, Slot's got to survive. And if his team is going to concede less goals with Salah on the bench, therefore having more chance of winning games, then he's got to do what's best for him and Liverpool first. And if Salah is going to be gone for a month anyway, and the team is winning without Salah at the moment, then maybe you do resist the temptation to bring him back. But look, it depends what's happening on the training ground. If Salah being dropped sparks something in him that he goes, I don't like that, and the real Salah comes back, then he has to play the next game. And I think ultimately Slot's in a really good position here because his team has won without Salah. It's not like you've dropped Salah and you've lost the players. Also, you'd hope that if it sparks Salah back, then you're a better team with that Salah. But if it doesn't, you just continue with what you've got. And I think the AFCON provides a very interesting sort of, well, I'm not in a rush to throw him back in the team. If he's back in the team performing, you've got to pick him, of course, because he's going to get you loads of goals and assists. But if the team is winning without him and he's going to go away for a month, then maybe you just stick with how it is. My opinion is you don't start him against Sunderland. That's a big risk because you could just throw him back in against Sunderland. It's a home game at Anfield. He might react to that. But personally, I think reward the team that got you a clean sheet and a good result against West Ham by giving them the start against Sunderland at Anfield. And if it's not going particularly well, or it is a tight game, you put Salah on and hopefully he comes on and he's a completely different player. So that's what I would do. But I think Slot fundamentally has got to do what's best for him and what's best for Liverpool. And there is the whole potential that, you lose to Sunderland and people are demanding his job again. So look, let me know your thoughts on it. But personally, I think sometimes no player's bigger than any club. And if they're not performing and the team's not performing and Liverpool haven't been performing, then you sometimes need a sacrificial lamb. And it's now down to Salah to take his chance when it comes and perform better because he hasn't been performing to the level that we know he can play, certainly. As for Thomas Frank, look, we've got the watch along tonight. Newcastle Spurs. I think it's going to be a very interesting game and I don't fancy Spurs to win it at all. I think Newcastle will, which heaps the pressure onto Thomas Frank. We've heard Thomas Frank talking about Spurs fans and they're not true Tottenham fans who are booing Vicario. I think that is such a big statement to say that you're not a proper fan if you're booing your players, because we've seen Liverpool fans boo Trent. Are they not proper Liverpool fans? We've seen fans boo people in the past. Are they not proper fans? We can't sanitize and dictate what football fans do. You know, That's Football is a huge football community where everybody is welcome. You might not agree with every comment because it's not true to you, but it doesn't mean that they're not a football fan. And we can say things in the heat of the moment. I've certainly said it in the past on the United stand. But I think as a manager, when you say to your fan base, when you're not winning games, a certain section of you are not true fans, you lose those fans when you're already losing fans anyway. So I think it's dangerous for Thomas Frank to do that. The reality is Spurs are dreadful and they are losing games at home. These fans give up their money and their time to support something that they care about far more than any manager or any fan or any player ever does, because they are fans. They support the club. So I don't think any fan ever takes criticism from a manager particularly well. We've had it at United sometimes, and it's sort of like, yeah, you're a custodian of a job where we can replace you. You're not the Prime Minister of who's a football fan of this football club. So I think it's a dangerous thing. I understand why Thomas Frank thinks it, because when he sees Vicario privately, he probably rates him, probably likes him. And when he sees him suffering because he's being booed, he might look at it and go, why is he being booed when that player, and that player deserve it more? So he's coming out defending his player. But you don't want to pitch yourself in an argument with your fans, especially when you're not in a strong position. You know, you're not winning games. You're probably going to get beat tonight, and the pressure is massively on. It's ridiculously early to be sacking Thomas Frank. He's got a very big job to do, and I think the Spurs job is virtually impossible anyway. But let's not forget, those Spurs fans have a right to protest. They have a right to express their opinions, and booing is not like the worst thing in the world. It's an expression of dissatisfaction. And I think when you get managers and owners pitching fans and using players as the pawn, that is pawn in a game of chess, by the way. I think that's wrong. Ultimately, if fans are booing, it's not because they dislike the player, it's because they dislike the performance, which feeds into the performance of the team and where the club is. That's on the ownership. So, you know, I think when managers and owners start going, oh, well, that's not acceptable, maybe self-reflect and say, well, actually, you've got a big part in why it's not acceptable. You pick these players, you set these teams up, you are ultimately responsible. And I think Spurs' biggest problem is their identity. You know, I think Spurs fans look at their stadium, look at the name, and go, we should be doing better than we are. And I'm in agreement with that. So, look, we all have our opinions, but I don't think you can say that you're not a true fan if you boo somebody. You know, you might not agree with it, but I don't think you can say you're not a true fan. Everybody expresses opinions in different ways. That's my take. Anyway, get your comments in. Remember, as I said before, we have got watch-alongs tonight and tomorrow night. It's a midweek Premier League fixtures. But what are your thoughts on Thomas Frank saying you're not a true fan if you're booing a Spurs player? And what are your thoughts on Mo Salah? Does he start? Do you keep him out the team? Do you bring him back in the team? I think you keep him out the team and see how the team performs. Because what you're sending a message there to everybody else is you'll play on merit. You'll play on performance. Nobody's bigger than the club. And if Salah performs when I give him a chance and he's the best player in the team again, obviously he stays in the team. But for now, we stick with what we've got because I've got to win games. Thanks for watching. Take care. I'll speak to you on the next one.